Ashlie Brown, and I am the city assessor in Westfield, Massachusetts.
Great. So, Ashley, tell me a little bit about why you decided to join the program and sort of your expectations when you were coming in.
Sure. So I joined the program in 2020, which I would label the year of no control, probably for a lot of the world. But personally, I was going through a divorce and adjusting to being a full-time mom of a 6-year-old little boy that I was fostering to adopt. So I
Mm.
decided I was really just looking for something for myself to get involved in. So working in a municipality is kind of a different career path. So finding a program that kind of matched was interesting. But as soon as I saw the leadership and negotiation program at Baypath, I knew it would fit perfectly, professionally, and personally. My expectations when I walked in were just maybe to walk away with more confidence as a leader and
Okay.
definitely improve on my lack of negotiating skills. Um,
Hmm.
but honestly, it turns out my expectations were extremely low because I walked away with a lot more than that.
Well, that's great. So
Yeah.
maybe you can say, I think the next thing that I'd love to hear about is, when you left the program, what did you feel and what were sort of your biggest takeaways from all of this?
Sure. So when I left, I would say I felt eager, really eager to kind of put into the real world not only the things that I learned, but what I researched and what I created in the program, specifically with my capstone and things like that. I was new to a management position, and my workplace is definitely multi generational. So I'd
Mm.
say I definitely walked away with new skills in my toolbox to kind of create safe spaces for conversation. Honestly, I feel like I could lead with assertiveness and grace at the same time, which I think is something huge that came out of the program. If I had to pick some takeaways, I would say I approach negotiation completely differently than I did when I started. I think I had that mindset that everyone does with that win lose.
Mm.
And now I've definitely taken that common interest view going into negotiations for our union. Quite honestly, I think that approach has gotten us the best contract we've ever had. And I
Mm.
really do attribute that to some of the skills that I learned throughout the program. So,
Can you say a quick word about that of sort of what you all did a little differently and maybe an
yeah,
example or two of what it led to that you might
absolutely.
not have gotten to had you taken more of a different approach?
Yep. So I think our negotiations can be a little different. We work directly with the administration every day. So it's not like we can sit at the table, negotiate, walk away, and never see them again until, the next contract. So being in a municipality and using taxpayer funding makes raises and things like that really touchy, which I completely understand. So instead of going in kind of like, this is what we're looking for, this is it or nothing. We
Mhm.
actually went in with what our goals were, and one of them was retention for employees and training, things that we knew would benefit the city as a whole, as well as helping out our membership. So I think that opened a whole different conversation. We were able to come up with ways, maybe not directly related to pay increases, but paying for licenses and education and training to retain people. And then we were able to institute longevity payments. So that retention, if you stay here right up front, it's not costing the city a lot of additional funds, but it's definitely an encouragement to keep people involved. Things like that, days off, things that don't cost the city as much money, but was really helpful to our membership as well as the city.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering maybe if you could just say a word about, what are the kind of things that you use from the program on a regular basis that have sort of become things that you've adopted
Sure.
and are particularly valuable for you?
Definitely. So I would say my capstone was huge. I created assessing your leadership. So I kind of took bits and pieces of the entire program and molded that to fit kind of my profession. I've actually been able to use that at our annual school. So kind of having that influence over assessors across the state rethinking about leading their departments. And
Mm.
like I said, I could take the pieces that I've learned and really just make it more for our profession, which I think has been great. I go back to the hostage negotiations that are actually part of your book.
Mm.
I don't deal with anything on that high of a level,
Yeah.
but being in the union, being in management, being in arbitration, those are high emotional situations for people around the table. And I constantly go back to the whole, approaching it with listening versus talking and just being compassionate and understanding a lot of emotional things that I don't think I thought about prior to this program when it comes to difficult conversations or even day-to-day conversations with people. You know, people are living their lives and maybe their reactions are a certain way because of what something else that's going on. So I think
Yeah.
I really tried to take some of the lessons and bring them into just my day-to-day life.
That's great, and I think, as you say, one of the things that I think the program does is to really help people to notice those things
Yes.
that were going on, but perhaps you just didn't really sort of think to look there and say, oh, this person's struggling with this. I'm wondering what's going on, what's driving that behavior, right? As opposed to, wow, what's wrong with this person? Why are they behaving like that? And digging in and saying they're just unreasonable, right?
Yep. No, and I think that's huge. And if anything, I would have hoped I had some of that before I came through the program, but
Mhm.
I definitely have more knowledge and more so not just for myself, but being able to share that with other people, especially those in management positions above me. You know, that trickle down effect is real and everyone's got something going on.
Right, right, absolutely. Great. So let me ask you this last question, which is if you could give me one word that the Masters in Leadership and Negotiation program sort of comes to mind or conjures up as a way of describing it, what would you say?
So I would have to say change, and not in the obvious sense, like changing your position, even though I did get a promotion as a result of some of what I did in the program. But I would say change in the sense that I've been able to change the narrative for our CBA negotiations at work or to change the way assessors lead their office. So even if it's just one word or one reaction that I change because of something that I've learned or done through the program, I would say that's a huge win for me professionally and personally.
Great. Well, I am really glad to hear that not only did the program meet your expectations, but that you're finding ways to use it on a regular basis. So keep up the great work, and
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for taking the time to share those. I think it'll be very meaningful for students.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you so much.